to the Nut Up, run by the WTEAFP Podcast Studios with your host. He runs Route 40 from Cecil County to Appalachia. We got ourselves the Plow.
How we doing today? I think that intro song was basically the perfect intro song because that game was bittersweet. Again, almost losing the fourth quarter, but, at the end of the day, a win's a win, and you'll take a win in the NFL. We also have the Birdman here.
How? What's up, fellas? Good to be back.
Yeah. And it's better now than it's been the last 2 weeks because a win's a win. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect, but that was us. That's a John Harbaugh quote. I guess, Birdman, any just initial thoughts on the game?
Yeah. No, I think you hit it on the head, right? It's hard to win in the NFL. And, you never take a win for granted. But for me, I always like to take a look at the wins and figure out, where could we be better? So we'll get into it during this episode, but I really want to talk about the offense, and that might throw some people off because we put up quite a bit of yards and ran all over the Cowboys. I would say by all accounts, the offense played a good game, but I think there's some recurring themes and some issues that, we've had good games against opponents in the past, right? And when you get to the playoffs and the best of the best, which when you're the Ravens, that's the expectation, is that you get to the playoffs. Yeah. Can we take that next step as an offense? So excited to dive into that.
Which, I guess we'll open up by talking about the offensive line again. They did play well, but do you think that's going to stick, or, did they play well just because the Cowboys have the most atrocious inside defensive tackles in the league? Every time they cut to Jerry Jones after a run, he's just he looked like he wanted to kill himself. Can't do it.
I think it's a combination of both, for sure. You're not going to see a front that bad. And they even had a couple injuries on the players that they do have, too. So I think it's okay to say that, we played a crappy team with a really bad front, and that's why we were able to dictate the game as much as we did. But I also think it's fair to say that we did play better. And especially the guy that we've been roasting on this pod for a couple weeks now, Falele, played a lot better, right? And when he plays a lot better and everybody else does their job, you can rack up 247 yards on 45 carries against a bad offensive line. Yeah. So I think it's probably a combination of both.
Yeah. The Cowboys' interior defensive line, they're smaller guys, so they can just get absolutely bodied by a guy who's eats McDonald's for every meal. So, but then there was a bunch of pictures I saw where they're just still shots and everyone's in motion except Falele. He's still in his stance. I saw multiple of those pictures.
He's like a freight train, so it takes a lot to get moving for him.
Exactly.
If he gets moving and gets his hands on people, it's game over, but that's a big if.
Yep. And then, again, the left side of the offensive line, I think, they're pretty damn good. We are averaging, I think, 7 yards or so running to the left. So they were absolutely mauling on that side.
Shout out to Ronnie Stanley, man. He's been getting, rightfully so, criticized for the past couple of years, right? I know injuries played a lot in that, right? And timing sucked too. Right after he signed that contract, he goes out for basically 2 years. But man, he's been one of the best left tackles in the league, and our most consistent lineman. So props are due for him.
Yeah, and he's probably also looking oh shit, if I get paid again, it's going to be pretty soon. So I better strap him on.
It's a contract year.
Yep,
basically.
All right, I guess we'll just parlay that into the running game. It's by far our best rushing game. King Henry and Lamar. I think Henry had 150 and 2 touchies. Lamar had 80 something and a touchy. From what I noticed is, I remember you were talking about it last week. How do we get this run game really going? It's that read option. Isolating the guy on the end and make him make a decision. Who am I going, Henry or Lamar? And I think we started the game run that a few times, which just opened up every other aspect of the run game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, somebody, I don't know if it was Ryan Mink, or I think it was someone from the BaltimoreRavens.com posted a mashup of clips, and it was basically Micah Parsons being, just stuck on an island and making the wrong decision every time. And that's the conflict that you can put somebody in when you have someone as talented as Derrick Henry and Lamar in the same backfield. I really hope that continues, especially early in game if we're trying to get the running game established. But stick with it too, throughout the game for the rest of the year.
Yep, absolutely. Any thoughts on that, Tubes?
Full erection. I love the running game, and obviously the left side's better than the right, but we got some good grades from the guys. Falele had his best grade yet with 71.5. Macari had 72.7 from PFF, so I'm pleased. I'm pleased with what I saw. Obviously, it's going to be a step in the right direction, and it's going to be slow.
I know you haven't heard his name much catching the ball, but Andrews was blocking his ass off on Sunday too, so you don't hear his name on
tight ends here. Even Likely, I thought he kind of got a little bit of, he was talking some smack after the Chiefs game, and then I think he got a little humbled against the Raiders. He got put on his butt a couple times, but he blocked really well on the outside. And even Kolar, Kolar's a great blocker. He plays well. He had a couple catches too. So if we can get them all working and attack the outside, zone gap concepts, like we've seen our linemen are suited for besides Falele. I think that's a strategy and a tactic that can work for us moving forward, even when we're not playing the worst run defense in the league.
Yeah. While we're on the run game, did you hear what they're saying about Henry's diet? Like he spends $240,000 a year basically on a personal chef, a masseuse. I don't know what a few other things, but basically, he doesn't eat his first meal until 4 p.m. So it's basically intermediate fasting. So he doesn't eat until 4 p.m. He eats a meal at 4, and then he eats a meal at 8. And then, what he said, he's like, I probably eat 3 chicken breasts, some rice and broccoli, he says, and then I'll have, some from pancakes, scrambled egg, diced potatoes, home fries, and steak. So he's eating like 3,500 calories in a 4-hour period during a day, which is, he's basically like Michael Phelps. So
I remember that whole Phelps thing, dude. That was crazy.
I actually tried that today, but I didn't eat that many calories. My first meal was at 3, and I just stopped eating about an hour ago, and I didn't work out twice, and I didn't work out anywhere like how he works out, but.
Dude, it's like he's got to be running low on energy when he's practicing if he's not eating until 4 p.m., Yeah,
well, he says he eats like an avocado or something before practice. But
yeah.
I think you'd be surprised. I think, like, if you get used to that, I think you might have more energy.
So, all right, Plow, so what? Are you going to do it? You got to do it for the next 2 weeks.
I'm going to do it. I have a bachelor party this weekend, and I got golf trip and that's right. But I'm gonna try. All right, let's just keep going on the offense. The Birdman brought this up. He was like, "Do you think the Ravens are trying to do much different shit on offense? Why can't Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Zay and the 2 Zays get what shit? Can you edit this fucking part?
Come. Edit that one.
Yeah, your question isn't even in English.
I can't do it. I wrote that question.
All right, well, you asked the question then. You know what you want to ask.
Yeah. Well, no, we were just texting back and forth after the game, right? And it's kind of I teased it in the beginning, right? It's like John Harbaugh always talks about being multiple on offense, right? And multiple on defense. That's what he wants to do. And I think Mike McDonald mastered that on the defensive side of the ball, right? Like nobody knew what we were doing depending on our personnel groupings and everything. Even though it might be the same play over and over again, we can just present it in 6 or 7 or 8 different ways. So when people are doing when our opponents are doing film study, what you're looking for is giveaways, right? Like what Are they doing the same play out of the same formation every time? Is one player specifically doing the same thing that gives away the play? So I feel like, and Harbaugh will tell you, right? Like, he kind of masterminded a lot of that multiple defensive scheme that people, casual fans might give Mike Macdonald credit for. That's been in the works for years at this point at the organizational level. So it begs the question, right? Are they doing the same thing on offense? Except for on offense, my problem is it just seems like we finally have an offense that we can dictate the game on, right? Like, for years, right? What's been the biggest thing that Lamar, apologists is probably the wrong word, but I'll use it for a lack of a better term right now. Lamar apologists will point to for why he hasn't gotten the credit he's deserved compared to everybody else, right? It's, well, we don't have any playmakers, man. We've drafted so many first-round receivers, and they all suck. He's got Mark Andrews. That's it. We don't have any running backs. That's always been the criticism, right? And it's like, well, this year, man, we finally have an arsenal of weapons between Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and Lamar himself, right? And you could even throw, I know this might cause some ripples with, with listeners, but Rashad Bateman can make plays too, right? We have the weapons now. But it just seems like we can never figure out a way to get them all involved in the same game script. And what I mean by that is, like, you can run the ball 45 times against a shitty Dallas front and blow the doors off of them and win the game, right? But when it gets into crunch time in the playoffs and they take away the run game, what are you going to do? And what's happened in the past years, even in 2019, if we go back that far, right, to that offense with Greg Roman, it's like we steamrolled everybody.
I think we're still like waiting on Roman's vault to be opened.
I know, right? It's like
we don't have the combination. He's gone. We don't have the combo.
Yeah, but it's just kind of crazy to me that, like, we have such a successful offensive game plan, and our tight ends don't catch a single pass. Basically, I mean, Kolar had 2. I think Mark had 1. I don't know if Isaiah Likely had any. So are we trying to get too cute? I guess in what we're doing offensively and tailoring the game plan too much specific to the opponent so that we don't ever really establish an identity, right? And that's one thing you've heard John talk about the past couple of weeks is we need to establish an identity on offense. It's like, well, you keep changing the identity every week based off the opponent. We never get into a spot where we're dictating to the defense what's going to happen. We're always doing what we think the defense's weaknesses are, and good coaching staffs, they'll counteract that. Like, we've seen Steve Spagnuolo from the Chiefs shut down our offense multiple times, right? It's happened frequently. So I guess the question is to you guys, right? Do you guys feel like what we saw in week 3 against Dallas is a recipe for success the rest of the year, or is it kind of fool's gold?
I think it depends who you play. Like, you're right. In the playoffs, you're going to play defenses that are going to just absolutely, either stack the box or just have one of the best run defenses in the league. And you got to figure out how to, move the ball through the air. I mean, we have so many different styles of offenses. Like, we don't really have a true identity. And it might take an entire season to perfect multiple different offenses. Right. I mean, if you can do that, then you're like the best team in the history of the NFL. But yeah. I don't think that's like really possible. So I think you're right. Like, I want to see on Sunday night, if the Bills stop the run and see how we can move the ball through the air.
I got a different take. I think that Monken is a passer. He came into the NFL as a passer. And yeah, we got Derrick Henry and whatnot, but I don't think we can pass long balls right now. We need both our tight ends to help with the O-line, so we're losing weapons there. Obviously, with the Chiefs, with Likely, it was a different story, but no one really had him guarded. They were bracketing Andrews. So we're using our tight ends to chip, so they can't really be involved. Zay isn't really – I don't know whether it's Zay – not running, clean routes, or he's just getting more press coverage, or what it could be. But maybe I would assume it's more along the lines of the O-line not giving Lamar time to develop these routes. So we're going with short routes, and then the safeties slough in because it's either a short route or it's a fucking run. And so he's not really doing what he wants to do. We're limited by our O-line with everything else we do on offense.
My problem is that we haven't been able to throw the deep ball for like 5 years. So
yeah, where's the fucking deep ball,
like
dude?
even when we had a sick offensive line, it's like why can't we throw the ball deep?
Where's
it's like Lamar's biggest and most valid criticism, man. He just, for whatever reason, I don't know if he gets the yips or what, but he just either overthrows or underthrows too many deep balls. And
I'd rather him underthrow than overthrow. I mean, Flacco underthrew like half his deep balls, and they were all pass interferences.
Probably won the Super Bowl, man. He had like chronic
just like the plays go deep. We'll throw a back shoulder. The corner won't be looking at the ball, and we'll move the ball down the field.
Yeah, no, but Chugs, I think that is like such a good counterpoint too, right? Like, I'm hopeful that what you're saying is correct too, because I think with time our offensive line can get better and those limitations are lifted. But yeah, man, you might be right. It might be just that Monken and Harbaugh deep down, though, they'll never admit it to fans or anybody that they know our offensive line is trash still. And that's the situation we find ourselves in. But that's the only reasonable explanation that I can think of, for why we can't figure it out at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess we'll just move on to the next topic. Birdman, did you hear Lamar's post-game interview? He said something like...
I couldn't hear the audio on it, but I saw the quotes about it, and he was none too happy.
I got it right. I got it right here. The only thing was... I tried to find it on YouTube, and they scrubbed this whole video, his whole interview, from the internet. I could only find it on TikTok, dude. They're censoring Lamar because he's talking about fucking suicide or some shit.
Yeah, because he tweeted that like Trump's the real thing.
They're censoring him. But here it is, right here. Let's see. It's bad audio, but let's see.
How much did this group need this win? We needed it bad, because some people was on suicide watch.
And then he goes on to say,
I almost killed myself, Julie.
Dude, he just like, he was just so pissed off after the game. I mean, like, when we were talking off air, he goes, if we lost that game, I think Lamar would have actually killed himself. and then maybe...
For our listeners, we're pulling up the Marlon Humphrey interview. This is what I was talking about. He was like pissed at Marlon Humphrey for freaking going on Instagram Live after that game.
Yeah, this is also terrible audio, but here it is.
We shouldn't even live right now. Like, we need to get right. Yes, sir.
I think the moral of the story is that like Lamar wants it, right?
Yeah.
He's not satisfied with beating a crappy Dallas team. He was overhyped coming into the season because they're the Cowboys. I think he knows like they got their work cut out for him because they're not playing up to their standards, regardless of going into AT&T Stadium and getting a win there.
Yeah, I mean Marlon's like on Instagram Live all happy, and and Lamar just sitting there reading like "Don't kill himself" books.
Yeah, was it you or Plow who was? Like, what would Ray Lewis think of Marlon Humphrey?
Yeah, he was like
something about like I'm pretty or whatever after they lost to the Raiders, like right after the game. It's like, dude, you are.
Yeah, I think Marlon needs to just like drop the fucking act. No one gives a shit about your like TikTok podcast.
He's not Kelsey.
Yeah, just drop the act and fucking play ball. You don't give a shit about your Instagram.
He dropped the ball, is what he did. He fucking dropped the ball.
I know he dropped it. But yeah, I think you're right. Lamar's just fucking pissed off, and he's just like, I need to win the whole fucking Super Bowl, or I'm fucked.
Yeah.
But all right, we'll move on. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. You have concerns about what you're seeing on the defense, or you think Orr's going to figure this out? I mean, Mike McDonald, I remember his first 8 games as D coordinator. We are basically ranked anywhere from 30 to 32nd in the league on every single defensive stat. And, as you can tell, he figured that out. I think I saw something like the Seattle hasn't allowed 150-yard passing yards in the first 3 games, which is the first time since like the 1970-something Steelers.
Holy shit.
Which is insane. So I guess my question is, do you think Orr nuts up like McDonald, or you think we have a real issue here?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man, because I personally really like Zach Orr as a human being, right? Like, he's overcome a lot in his life, so I never would bet against the guy from that regard. But, I think, yeah, the answer is yes, dude. You have to be concerned the same way we were concerned after Miami dropped 28 points on us in the fourth quarter. In what was that, 21 when McDonald, or 22 when McDonald was, that was his third game. I was actually at that game. And I was like, basically in party mode, like not even watching the end of the game because we were up like 36-5 or 36-6 or something. And they ended up beating us in that game. And yeah, I was asking the same questions. I just don't see, what I expected to see from where they were last year. Like, I understand he's a different D coordinator, right? And he's going to play the different defense slightly differently, but we're not seeing any of the sim pressures. Like, the 4 guys that line up on the line of scrimmage, they're the ones that are rushing the quarterback.
Yeah.
Mike McDonald's magic.
The outside linebackers aren't getting so much pressure. It's just more Matabuki, Travis Jones, Van Noy. Those are the guys getting the pressure.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, we brought in
getting pressure, dude. It's just like you can only get so much pressure when you don't have Myles Garrett or T.J. Watt or Micah Parsons, right? Like, we don't have that guy. We just don't have that type of quality pass rusher or Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. Now, Matabike is good, but I don't think he's Chris Jones, Aaron Donald good. Maybe he'll prove me wrong.
Aaron Donald's the best football player of all time. Maybe.
In that combo. I don't know. What do you think, Chugs? Like, I just don't think that we're seeing what I would have expected to see with at least some of the multiplicity on the defense and the varying looks and trying to confuse people. It seems like we're pretty much saying our guy's better than your guy in most cases.
Yeah, to your point, when's the last time we saw that very timely blitz from Kyle Hamilton on the outside and he gets a sack within a second and a half? Or a strip sack, I mean, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about a playmaker, someone that can actually strip the ball, sack him on a third down. We have, Van Noy, I mean, they're getting consistent pressure, more pressure than I fucking thought. But,
Same.
But it doesn't move the needle enough to where now we can do tight press coverage and really press the ball and be ball hawks and get turnovers. Like, it all is simpatico when you get that pressure on the quarterback. So it doesn't seem that unique. It seems like he's playing it safe. He's like just getting his feet wet, and then he's gonna come along.
Apparently, compared to the rest of the NFL, we're like in the 20s somewhere on sacks and pressures, and we're worse at pressuring the quarterback than getting sacked. So when we get there, we're at least bringing them down, but it's rare.
Yeah,
that's surprising to me. I would have thought we were higher in sacks.
I know, I saw that today. I was like I thought we'd been getting pressure, but
yeah, maybe the Raiders game is sticking too much in my head because we racked up a bunch of sacks there. I feel like
but we didn't sniff Dak's jockstrap in the fourth quarter once.
And that's when you need it more than any other time. You need it right then and there.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help when you're on the defense for however many plays they were, and then we botch a freaking onside kick and they go right back out. Like, that's tough.
Zay.
Yeah, but it doesn't get any easier this week. Sunday Night Football. The 3-0 Buffalo Bills coming into M&T Bank Stadium to face the 1-2 Ravens. It does not get any easier going up against the MVP favorite. I think his odds are plus 200 now. Did you see what Josh Allen said today?
What did he say?
He goes, I'm just glad we have wide receivers that don't really look at stats, and they score touchdowns and they're not really looking at stats. So that was a dig at Diggs.
Yeah, I like that.
Big dig. But I mean, you watched some thing, Larry just told Lawrence to just bend over and take it. The guy had no chance. The Jaguars stink, but I mean, I haven't seen it beat down like that in the NFL in like a long time. So how are we feeling about this game? Do you feel confident? Do you feel a little concerned? I think I'm happy that they're 3-0 coming off a win like that, because it could be easily be a letdown spot for them against a 1-2 team that is, trying to dig back to keep up with the Steelers. So I'd rather play a team off a win than a team off a loss any day of the week. I don't care, how good they are.
Yeah, I don't read in too much into that, right? I mean, I know the Ravens started off 0-2, but our team is really similar to last year. I think, like, in the league, the players, people come to play the Ravens kind of no matter what, right? Like, we've built up enough of reputation that we don't ever get a letdown team, right? Like, whenever we lose, it's either because played a good game and we lost, or it's because we came in there with a letdown attitude and the Oakland Raiders beat us, right? But to answer your question, we got to work it out for us, because they look really freaking good, man. I mean, they look like the best team in the league right now.
I think
and Josh Allen's playing like the best player in the league right now. And a lot of the stuff they're doing well is stuff that we've struggled against in terms of the middle of the field, linebacker coverage. Like, they ate that up against the Jaguars on Monday Night Football. So I'm nervous as hell.
I think they have one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. That guy Shakir can ball.
Shakir.
I've won a lot of money on that guy the last couple of years. What are your thoughts, Bernice?
I think we're gonna win the game. I think the Buffalo Bills are they can fucking flub a game. They flub games every year. At least 2, 3, 4 games they flub. It's a Sunday night game. We're wearing all black. I mean, dude, it's it just seems like Lamar with that whether he was in a plane or a bus, he's locked in. He's not happy. And when Lamar's not happy, the team's not happy. They stay hungry. All we need is a couple turnovers. We're due for a fucking pick six or something. We just need the ball to fucking flop our way and let our fucking coaches get out of the way, give Lamar the ball, and fucking put the team on his back.
Dog, he put the team on his back.
Get him on the back, man. Let's go.
All right. Well, I guess my last question is, what do you think we need to do to win it all?
Nut up.